bring it back up here a little bit. You know, as I prepared for this week's talk, I thought that Easter has a lot to do with peace. And we're also talking about surrender, which we'll get to in here further. So that's why I asked us to do that poem of mine there, because all the different faiths had the same goal at their core. And the Peace Pilgrim just kind of caught me when I looked it up. So I thought that was amazing. I lost the lens out of one of my glasses, so I've got the Cary Grant version here. So as we get ready here to be moved into grace consciousness, let's all take a conscious breath. And as we breathe in, we open to the infinite. And as we breathe out, we release what no longer serves. In, open to the infinite. Out, we release. And as we move forward, let's affirm silently, I'm here to listen, I'm here to awaken, and I'm here to receive. So today we prepare, I can't look out and see you people with these glasses on. It's kind of different. Today we prepare not with effort or strain, but with surrender to be moved into grace consciousness, the state of being where we recognize in the ever-present love of God as the activity of our lives. Now, this is not a distant goal. It's a dimension of awareness available now when we choose to let go of resistance and align with the infinite. I'm going to mention a little bit about the Bible right now, so if the Bible triggers any past things from you, that's okay. When I was in ministerial school and found out I had a whole course on the Bible, I was going, oh boy, how am I going to do this? Fortunately, the book that we used was a book by a guy named Jack Addington, who's done a number of other things, and he translated it into New Thought in a lot of different ways. I think Pete's reading the book right now. Completely different picture of the Bible from what I was used to back then. So in the Science of Mind tradition, we approach the Bible as a book of metaphysical insight rather than literal history. And it's filled with figurative language, such as allegorical writings, stories where events and characters represent bigger ideas. For example, the Garden of Eden is an allegory about innocence, choices, and spiritual growth. There's esoteric stories, teachings that have a hidden or deeper meaning, meant for those who seek more understanding about their life and spirituality. And then, of course, we have the parables. Simple stories that illustrate a moral or spiritual truth, like Jesus' parable, the Good Samaritan, which teaches us to show compassion for others. Ernest Holmes said, the Bible is a spiritual record of the soul's journey back to God. I thought that was a neat thing for him to say. And when we read stories like the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus went out and prayed and the disciples fell asleep next to him, the crucifixion or the resurrection, we don't look at just the outer events, but at the inner meetings. Jesus is our master teacher. He demonstrates the highest realization of the divine in form. His life, death, and resurrection reflect the journey of consciousness we each take as we release ego and awaken to spirit. So let's talk about his Gethsemane moment. In Matthew, Jesus prays, my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. As a matter of fact, Matthew said he said it 3 times. Before he says, yet not my will, but thy will be done. This moment in the garden represents the inner turning point of surrender. Jesus doesn't deny the pain or uncertainty. He feels it, but he doesn't let that fear dictate his path. Instead, he places his trust in a deeper wisdom. This is the moment where ego yields to spirit, where personality surrenders to principle. In our own lives, we encounter Gethsemane moments, times when we ask to let go, to trust, to move forward without clarity, but with faith. In Science of Mind, this is spiritual maturity, choosing divine guidance over personal control. Now, we've all had Gethsemane moments. They may not always be as dramatic as Jesus's was, but we all have them. Many of them center around loss. It may have been the loss of a job or the loss of a relationship, but many of them center around loss. Take a moment to think when you might have had a Gethsemane moment. Some of you might have shared them already up at this podium in the past, when you let go of everything. Well, Reverend Debbie and I had a Gethsemane moment, not quite as dramatic as Jesus's, but we had traveled out to California, and on the way to stay at our friend's house, we stopped and picked up a few things, and left the parking lot, and something didn't sound right in the car, so we pulled over into a parking lot, and the back hatch was ajar a little bit. Closed it, not thinking much of it, got out there. It was dinner time, so we left right away to go eat. And when we came back, I went to get the suitcase out of the car, and mine was not there. Everything I had for this trip was there. You know, clothes, toiletries, medications, all that kind of stuff. And we had a kind of a fancy dinner to go to, so it was like, okay, I brought some better stuff this time than just sitting on the beach. So we did everything we could. We called we thought maybe, we went back, traced our steps, not there. We called the rental company thinking maybe I didn't put it in the car, which took forever because they don't let you just get through to anybody. So we finally, at the end of the evening of doing what we could, just had to let it go. We just said, hey, we've done what we can, it's up to you now. Thinking, okay, we got shopping to do tomorrow and all that kind of stuff. So we go out the next day. Of course, we get a suitcase because we need to put all this stuff we have to buy in it. And as we're buying the last shirt, Debbie gets a phone call from Southwest Airlines. And he said, did you guys lose a suitcase? And she goes, yeah. Well, it's outside of a sub shop in this shopping center. And what had happened was a gentleman had gone to get his car fixed and saw it sitting outside there, thinking it's a little odd, but 2 hours later he came back and it was still there. So he went in and asked, what's the story with this? And they said, well, we watched it bounce out of a car last night. So we put it outside in case they come to get it. Well, we never thought to go look on sidewalks. And the other piece of it, he was a person who traveled a lot. So he knew how to take the extra steps to get through to Southwest because there's a tag on it, and it says where you're going. And they were able to track it down, track it back to her buying the ticket, and we got the stuff back. Everything was there. The suitcase was trash, but that was one of the things. But that night we just had to say, okay, we can't fret over this anymore. We just have to let it go. Again, not as big as Jesus's, but hey, we'll go on from there. Actually, yeah, I have double sets of shirts and stuff like that now, so we're all good there. So let's talk about God's will. I want to be very clear about something. Oftentimes, God's will has been used to explain those experiences we would just have soon not had. You know, it must have been God's will that you lost your job. It must have been God's will that you got sick. It must have been God's will your spouse left you. It could even be taken a step further to say that God's will is punishment for our sins. A bad rap's we've committed the sin, so God's will is that we experience this punishment, right? Well, those are most definitely race consciousness thoughts, aren't they? And even in New Thought movement, we've given surrendering to God's will a bad rap at times because we are so focused on, and we can use it, portion of Ernest Holmes' statement, there's a power for good universe, and we can use it. We sometimes focus too much on that than the whole message with it. It's up to us. It's up to our will. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. That was the title of a book by Robert Schuller years ago. God's will is not an external command or punishment. It's not about a puppet master controlling us. And we grew up with that a lot. In our teaching, God's will is the ceaseless urge of spirit to express itself through us as peace, power, love, beauty, joy, and wholeness. Ernest Holmes wrote, God's will for us is something marvelous, wonderful, and good. God's will is peace, joy, happiness, and abundance. To surrender to God's will is to stop resisting the good that is trying to happen through you. It's not about passive submission, but it's about active alignment with the highest truth of your being. I like that term, active alignment. That's what we are here to do. So when we let go of fear, resentment, and control, we make room for the greater pattern of good to reveal itself. So in actuality, when we surrender, we are opening up a space in us to let God become more conscious of itself as us, to let love express more of itself as us, to let abundance reveal more of itself as us, to let wholeness make known more of itself as us. Now that sounds more like grace to me, doesn't it? Grace, you have an always present flow. It's not earned. It's not conditional. It's not a transaction. I think that's important to think about. In the Science of Mind philosophy, grace is the unmerited, unearned givingness of God to its creation. Ernest Holmes said, grace is the givingness of spirit to its creation. It's never withheld. It's always operating, but we must accept it. Rumi said, try to be like a river. As it flows silently through the night, it has no fear of stumbling over the rocks. It will find its way around any obstacle. This is the way of surrender, trusting in the flow of grace. He also said, give up to grace. The ocean takes each wave until it hits the shore. You need more help than you know. I kind of like that. So grace is what flows when we stop resisting. Grace is what surrounds us even when we don't notice. Grace is the hand beneath us when we let go of control, and we've all had that one. Preparing to move into grace consciousness is about recognizing that we don't need to make good happen. We need to become available to it. Now, the crucifixion and resurrections are symbols of the inner process we each undergo, which is appropriate to talk about today. The crucifixion represents the death of ego, the small self, the false identities we've clung to. The resurrection is the rising of the divine self, the eternal, radiant, spirit-infused aspect of our being. Each time we release a limiting belief, each time we forgive instead of retaliate, each time we affirm in the face of difficulty, we are experiencing resurrection. This process isn't just once a year, it's every day. The invitation to grace consciousness is a daily invitation. Now, here are 4 spiritual practices to prepare for grace. First one is stillness. Grace is quiet. Daily meditation, even 5 minutes, when we release our grip, spirit flows, practicing letting, I missed a line here. Even 5 minutes opens the heart to divine guidances. Releasing control, one of our hardest things to do, but control is an illusion. We suffer when we cling. When we release our grip, spirit flows, practice letting go of outcomes. Now, receptivity, I'd like you to say this aloud after me. I am ready to receive the good prepared for me. Stay open. Don't block your blessings with disbelief. I thought that was an interesting statement. Now, trust in divine order. And repeat this after me. Even if I don't understand the how, I trust the why of spirit. Life is unfolding perfectly, even in mystery. So let's anchor this practice. Close your eyes and gently breathe. Visualize yourself standing before a great doorway of light. That doorway is grace. It does not require effort, only openness. And whisper this within to yourself. Spirit within me, I surrender what no longer serves. I am ready to be moved into grace consciousness. I trust the divine pattern unfolding in me. Now, feel yourself stepping forward. No force, no fear, just grace. And let the light of grace unfold in you. Okay, you can come back. So I'm here to declare that grace is here. It's not something you achieve, it is something you remember. It is not something you earn, it is something you accept. God's will is always for your wholeness. Grace is always present. Surrender is not giving up, it's rising to your true self. And just like Jesus, you are here to rise. And just like him, your surrender will not lead to loss, but more life abundant. And I would like to close out with a spiritual mind treatment. Again, this is a day of peace, a day of surrender. Take a breath. Opening to grace, I recognize that there is one life, one infinite intelligence, one loving presence that animates all things. This presence is the very source of good, all peace, all wholeness. It is God, and it is grace. I know that I am one with this presence. I'm not separate from it, nor do I need to earn its favor, for it flows freely through me as the very breath of my being. The divine life is my life now. In this sacred awareness, I release any belief in unworthiness, any fear that I must struggle, perform, or prove. I lay it down, like Jesus laid down his fear in the garden, and I rise in trust. I affirm that God's will for me is always greater life, deeper love, and ever-expanding joy. I surrender to that will now. I open myself to the moment of grace in my life. I become a clear channel for Spirit's love and wisdom. I align my thoughts, my words, and my actions with the highest truth of who I am. I let grace guide me. I let grace sustain me. I let grace lift me. Even when I do not see the full path ahead, I trust, as the river trusts the ocean, that I am being carried exactly where I need to go. Every moment is filled with divine favor. Every challenge is on the invitation to surrender more fully. Every breath is a prayer answered. And with gratitude in my heart and peace in my soul, I declare I am willing, I am ready, and I am moved by grace, and I allow it to be. And so it is.